Happy Noirvember, film fans. Welcome to All the Film Things. I'm your host, Elizabeth. Thank you for listening. If you're enjoying this podcast, please leave a review and a rating. Also, check out All the Film Things on Instagram for updates and more film things. It's become tradition around here, ever since I widely released this podcast, to celebrate Noirvember with an analytical conversation about a noir film. I look forward to Noirvember every year because noir is one of my favorite genres in cinema and deserves to be celebrated since it doesn't get the appreciation it so deserves. For the past 2 years, French noir films have been the focus of my Noirvember episodes. First, Louis Malle's 1958 film Elevator to the Gallows, and last year, my friend movie critic Mathieu Cote joined me in paying tribute to Alain Delon with a discussion about his 1967 film Les Samouraïs. This year, we will be talking about one of the most classic and ultimate film noirs that not only impacted future films within the genre, but cinema as a whole. Today, we are talking about Billy Wilder's 1944 noir film Double Indemnity, starring Fred MacMurray, Barbara Stanwyck, and Edward G. Robinson. I'm very excited to introduce my guest today, the Director of Communications for the Film Noir Foundation, Anne Hockens. Thank you so much for joining me today, Anne, and happy Noirvember.
Happy Noirvember. I'm very glad to be here.
I'm so thrilled to have you on and discuss one of the most significant noir films with you, a true champion of the genre, through your work with the Film Noir Foundation. We will be talking more about the foundation as well as the upcoming Noir City Film Festivals, but I want to start off by asking you how you first got into noir and what made you fall in love with the genre.
That's a good question. When I was a kid, it was the good old days when they actually played movies on TV.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually when American Movie Classics started. And I just would, things would come up. Like The Thin Man was the film that got me really into movies.
Oh, wow.
Which was, based on the book by Dashiell Hammett. Did write The Maltese Falcon, which is my favorite film of all time.
Oh,
excuse me.
Wow. I was going to ask if you did have a favorite noir film, but I figured it would be a challenge for you. But no, The Maltese Falcon, great pick.
Yeah, I never get tired of watching it. It's just, to me, it's like a perfect film and a great adaptation of the book, because John Huston, I think, is one of the greatest adapters of books, because he even managed to do The Dead by James Joyce, and it was incredible. That was quite a feat. Anyway, so I was also kind of into crime fiction, so I think Mildred Pierce might have been the first one I watched. And then I wound up getting into James and Cain and then reading his books. And so, it was basically things that would come up on TV. And then, I worked in the video store industry for years. And that's when I really would go into different genres and discover more and more. And then Eddie presented 2 films at the Seattle International Film Festival, where I was living at the time. And I started coming down to North City and covering that in the San Francisco Silent Film Festival for a blog. And then I wound up moving down here, and that's how I reached out to Eddie. And I had my articles up on their press page for the North Cities. And so, then I started working for the foundation, and my role kind of grew because they didn't really have a social media presence in their website. We needed more content. So I kind of started off with all that.
And that was the beginning of Ask Eddie?
So Ask Eddie is the podcast that Eddie and I do together.
Mm-hmm.
And that started because, with the pandemic, we couldn't have the festivals. So Eddie came up with this idea. He said, why don't we have people writing questions and, we'll answer them. And that was the start of it. And it's just, we've never stopped doing it because we keep getting more and more questions. So it's just kept going.
Yeah, you guys get some really good questions. And I love the banter you have back and forth. They're really a joy to watch. I have some questions about that as well later.
Okay.
Let's
Yeah,
see.
Eddie and I, it's obvious Eddie and I both really enjoy doing it because otherwise we used to only see each other a couple times a year, like like at
really?
North City Christmas and the North City Festival and the TCM Film Festival. And so it's been nice during the podcast because we get to see each other just about every 2 weeks,
Yeah.
over Zoom. Yeah.
Oh, you go to the TCM Film Festival? That's amazing.
The TCM Film Festival is fantastic. They just announced their dates, actually.
Oh, I always get the emails. It seems like such a dream. I always see the interviews and such. Oh, seems like a great festival to go to.
It is, and I've made friends that are now from meeting people at the festival. The festival is extremely well run for such a huge undertaking, and you just get to know people, and it's just been such a joy.
Yeah, I imagine the same at the Noir City Film Festivals. It seems to be growing as well.
Yeah, because we only started out with a couple cities, and it's just sort of grown every year. I mean, when Eddie got the job at TCM doing his show Noir Alley, I remember he got the job, and the first thing I thought was, oh, this is going to be so great for the Film Noir Foundation.
Yeah.
And it really has been, our purpose is to raise funds to restore films.
Yes.
Specifically film noir. And, that coverage has, the expanding of the festival and, people following our social media and donating money to us has really increased so we can do more projects.
Yes.
Because we really are grassroots, people who go to the festival and people who donate directly to us, they're responsible for the vast majority of our restorations. We've had grants here and there, but mainly it's just from the people that support us.
Yeah, and you have a lot of supporters. I see the Ask Eddie videos alone do very well on both Facebook and YouTube. So it's just growing in more cities. It's really exciting. I really appreciate what you all do.
Thank you very much. And it's certainly nice to have a job where, when we produce these restorations, it's like, this is what I do. There's a physical reality to my work, an end thing that I see. So it's exciting.
Like the Maltese Falcon, you've said you never get tired of it no matter how many times you watch it. So I imagine you've also seen Double Indemnity many times through the years as well. But do you happen to remember the first time you watched the film?
Double Indemnity? No. I mean, I'm not really sure. Because that was another James and Cain story. And so for me, sometimes I can't remember when I read a James and Cain story first and when I saw the movie first.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like I said, I believe I saw Mildred Pierce first, and then I started buying his books and read all of them. So sometimes that's really shaky for me to remember, the chicken or the egg.
That's true, yeah. I watched it about 3 years ago for the first time, and I just was immediately in awe of it. It was definitely one of the best noirs I've ever seen, and still is one of the best noirs I've ever seen.
Yeah, because I think probably I saw it most probably I saw it when I was first working in video stores, which was many, many years ago when there were video stores. So that's how far back that went. So probably around 1990 was the first time I saw it.
Wow, okay. But also, speaking of video stores, everyone should support physical media. I'm looking at my Double Indemnity DVD right now. So it's definitely worth getting your Double Indemnity DVDs as well as other films that you enjoy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was watching my Blu-ray of it the other day, and Criterion put out a really nice edition as well. I don't have the Criterion edition, but I'm a big supporter of physical media. I have a ridiculous amount of Blu-rays, and I have an all-region player, so if I want something from overseas, I can import it. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, I think I'm a little crazy.
No. I respect that so much. I didn't know you can get a certain region DVD, because some films overseas, they only are available that way, and even if I try and get it, then I can't watch it. So that's amazing that you have that ability to watch them.
Yeah, I did that because I got extremely into Danish films a couple of years ago, and there was just stuff I couldn't get in the States. So I had to that's why I thought, I'll just go ahead and get an all-region player. I've always wanted one, and it's been nice over the years because sometimes things just aren't available in the States.
Yes, and some foreign films are really hard to find, and that's why Criterion is amazing, because they are able to have them available to stream to discover more international films.
Yeah, the Criterion Channel is amazing.
Yes, I love it. And
Imogen
TCM.
Sarah Smith. Yeah, TCM too. And Eddie's definitely trying to put some foreign films into Noir Alley, even though a lot of people
good.
don't like it when he shows foreign films. But that's a story for another day.
I heard about a complaint that you were both talking about on Ask Eddie recently, which is wild. If you don't want to watch a foreign film, then don't watch it. But a lot of people would love to watch a foreign noir film. So I don't know why anyone would make such a drastic complaint like that. I would love to see those noir films around the world.
Yeah, and we've had a couple festivals where we've played a lot of foreign films.
Oh.
And people really enjoyed them. And the last festival we did, not the one that just happened, but I guess it was one before that, North City Festival. We paired like similarly themed an American film and an overseas film.
Oh,
and you could really see the difference between what was and wasn't allowed in other countries, what their interests were. And I like watching foreign films because I feel like in foreign TV shows that you get a feeling for the culture.
Absolutely,
and
yes.
that's really exciting to me.
While preparing for this episode, I learned that you are also an Almodovar fan, and I'm a massive Pedro Almodovar fan as well. I was so tempted to ask you, do you want to talk about Broken Embraces instead? But this is such a classic noir film that this would be a good one for us to talk about.
Yeah, I do. I really do love Almodovar. But yes, I'm very excited to talk about Double Indemnity because I think it's a fantastic film and a very important one, in terms of the genre too.
Oh yeah, it was a game changer for cinema, and it was the first in a string of masterpieces by Billy Wilder. So as a noir fan, is Double Indemnity your favorite film of his?
Billy Wilder's? I don't know, because I also really love Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah, that's a good one.
A lot.
And The Apartment.
Yeah, The Apartment's good, even though that one's, I don't know, that one upsets me, though.
What? Why?
I think because the girl just, doesn't value herself. It takes her so long to,
That's true.
value herself enough, and it's just painful to see her, her being taken advantage of, and just, it's kind of a cynical film. Well, I mean, I guess all his films are cynical, but I don't know, that one... I know. I have known people that's their favorite Wilder film, and I totally see why, but I don't know. Like I said, I know, either Double Indemnity. Double Indemnity because Barbara Stanwyck's in it.
Yeah, she's one of the best, especially in this genre. She's the original femme fatale, right, with this film?
No, because there is Bridget O'Shaughnessy, the Maltese Falcon.
Oh, right.
Which Mary Astor plays to perfection.
Mm-hmm.
So I would kind of think of her as sort of the first one, femme fatale like that in film noir. There's definitely some anesthetist type of character, like Dietrich in Blue Angel is really a femme fatale, even though noir hadn't happened yet.
According to, I forget if it was the Dark City, but I have the book Dark City in front of me and some notes on a bonus features special on the Double Indemnity disc. But 1944, Eddie Muller said is the beginning of noir, and it really started with Double Indemnity?
Yeah, that's when it really took off, right? Because there were definitely some noirs before that, you know, like Maltese Falcon, Stranger on the Third Floor. Oh, I know I'm leaving stuff out. But, I mean, that's not really a noir.
Oh, okay.
I think I don't really think of it as a noir, even though a lot of people do. Because to me, that's just more like a crime film, a psychological thriller, maybe. But Eddie, what he was talking about was, Double Indemnity is sort of, that's when you get this whole flood of film noir after that. It was the one that sort of, and established a lot of the tropes of noir. The look of it, the characters, the story.
You settled a debate that I just recently had with a filmmaker, documentarian Jonathan Berman. He said that M wasn't a noir, but I was under the impression it was one of the first noirs. So thank you for settling that debate.
Well, like I said, that is my opinion. Others might disagree, but I don't think it's really a noir, But there's a lot of films that definitely sort of, sometimes we use the term proto-noir, but were films that you can see had, I think, definitely impact on the films later, and things were drawn. And of course, I think the really important thing that people kind of sometimes forget is that noir really came from, in a lot of ways, from fiction. Like a lot of the elements of of noir we think of are from people like Dashiell Hammett, James and Cain, Cornel Woolrich, and other writers who wrote for pulp magazines like Black Mask.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely, it's not just coming from, and there's visually, obviously, German Expressionism has a big impact on that too. But and the German street films sort of in terms of story also. But, I mean, most of the film noirs, like this one, were based on novels, because, of course, this was based on a novel by James and Cain.
Yes, an 8-part serial in the Liberty magazine, right?
Yeah. A lot of stories were serialized in magazines, if people don't know that. So, like Dark Passage is another one that was serialized first.
Oh.
So a lot of those things were like serialized before they were novels. And people used to read fiction all the time.
Yeah, and it wasn't really policed as much as cinema was. They were allowed to get away with some things in books that were not allowed to be put on screen, which is why Double Indemnity took, 8 years to make? I think 8 years?
Yeah, because they had to get it through the censors before they were able to actually shoot it. And actually, if people want like a really fun thing to do, read James and Cain's novel Serenade.
Oh, Serenade,
and then watch the movie. Because in the book, the guys had a homosexual relationship, which of course they couldn't do. So when you watch Serenade, like, it makes no sense. Like, why can't this guy sing? And what's the deal with this? And it doesn't make any sense. When I eventually found out there was a movie of it, I was like, how could they even do this book? Like, why would anyone auction this?
Yeah.
When you can't do the story, but they found a way, and it's very silly.
Yeah, it's frustrating when it's not executed so well because of the censorship at the time. I remember being confused by Sweet Smell of Success with the whole marijuana being excluded from the film because they couldn't show it, they couldn't talk about it.
Oh, that's interesting. Why did I just kind of assume that for some reason? Maybe because he was a jazz musician.
I think maybe that's it.
And the thing was, in movies too, they could say things and people would just have associations because
right, yeah.
I mean, films then were made for grown-ups. They didn't have to spell everything out for you. People were more film literate then.
Yes,
too.
Yeah. Well, it shows in the dialogue. The dialogue is so beautifully written, and it's more intellectual than being so direct today in films. Yeah,
and especially when you're looking at somebody like Preston Sturges or Billy Wilder.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were such great writers, and their dialogue is so clever, and they both had a real understanding of human nature. Their films just have very different tones.
Yes, absolutely. I want to start by reading the IMDb plot summary for Double Indemnity. An insurance representative is seduced by a dissatisfied housewife into a scheme of insurance fraud and murder that arouses the suspicion of his colleague, a claims investigator. Okay, so the film opens with a striking silhouette shot of a man slowly approaching the camera on crutches as the opening titles roll. If you watch this film without knowing who directed it, would you be able to distinguish it as a Billy Wilder film rather than an Alfred Hitchcock film?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Oh,
I
really?
don't think it's anything like Hitchcock.
Really? I thought it was so much like Hitchcock when I first saw it. I thought it was like the best non-Hitchcock film I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, because I just don't think Hitchcock one did not have that ear for dialogue. I mean, the dialogue's good in a Hitchcock film, but it's not like that kind of dialogue, for one thing. But also, I mean, just the characters, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no, and stylistically, it's very different. John F. Seitz was the cinematographer on that film, and there's just, it's with the Venetian blinds, which obviously became a trope, and also I just watched and like when you go into the house and there's all the dust in the air.
Yeah.
And they use silver dust for that effect, by the way. Mm-hmm. So they were like, isn't that beautiful? Just silver dust. I mean, it looked dusty. And, I was watching this video on costumes, actually, and the woman pointed out the dust in the air showed that neither Phyllis or her husband cared enough to keep their house clean. It's like, I never thought of it that way. Their house is dusty. Whose house is that dusty?
Yeah, this beautiful house, beautiful Spanish house, so dusty inside and stuffy from last night's cigars.
Exactly. And it's just house dust. And I never thought of that, which is why it's fun to watch. I love watching YouTube videos that people do because you get all this different insight from different people, especially the costuming one, which I guess we can get into later, which was like stuff I hadn't even really thought about, but this woman was a professor and that's her specialty. It was like film costuming. That was really informative.
And one of the best costumers was in charge of the costumes for this film, Edith Head. So it doesn't get much better than her.
Yeah, and she was also very good, specifically costuming Barbara Stanwyck. And Barbara Stanwyck didn't really like clothes that much until her first film with Edith Head, because Edith Head had a way of, I hate to say, flaws, but just the way that Stanwyck had a short torso, so the way that Edith would cut things would lengthen it visually, like if you're looking at her. And then Stanwyck actually used Edith Head for personal clothes as well.
Yeah.
And then started actually enjoying dressing up, which wasn't something she really enjoyed that much. She was more of a, she loved riding horses, and she said, she was, in her one of the biographies, they have a great quote about her saying that she was never one of those glamour girls like Dietrich or someone like that.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I don't think anyone should compare themselves to Dietrich.
Yeah, she's in a field of her own. She's incredible. I admittedly haven't seen so many of her films, but her films with oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm blanking now.
Von Sternberg?
Von Sternberg, yes, thank you. The Scarlet Empress, I saw that one. That was a good one.
Oh, that's a great film. I love The Devil is a Woman, which is, I think, that's my favorite film of hers with Von Sternberg. Oddly, my favorite film of hers is probably Golden Earrings, which is not a Von Sternberg film.
Okay.
But she plays a gypsy in that, and she went all out in the research of how gypsies were, and she even lived with gypsies for a little while, actually. I don't know, I'm not supposed to say gypsies anymore, but that's what they call them in the movie.
Yeah.
But it is a completely different type of character for her. I highly recommend it.
I'm going to look for that one. I haven't seen her in much besides also Touch of Evil, which you talked about on a recent Ask Eddie, and you said it was a little overrated, and I just wanted to thank you for that, by the way, because I also felt that way when I watched it, and I thought I was the only one.
Yeah. Well, this kind of fun thing about doing Ask Eddie is we're just uncensored about our views on things, and I think it's nice because I think sometimes, if something's like sort of held up as sacred, you don't necessarily want to, people get really offended, but I don't care because, I worked in video stores for years, so I spent like 15 years talking about movies to people, so I'm pretty uncensored when I talk about movies.
I love it. I'm the same way. Now, do you think Double Indemnity would be more of a Hitchcock film had it been told through Phyllis's point of view instead?
I don't think Hitchcock would tell a movie from Phyllis's point of view.
Okay.
I mean, if you look at his female characters, the ones where the films are from their point of view, they're never really someone that's the antagonist. They're always the protagonist. So I can't really think of a Hitchcock female character that's remotely like Phyllis. I guess that's why I immediately thought, no, there's no way that this would be taken for a Hitchcock film, because I can't think of any, except for maybe Dietrich in Stage Fright,
yes,
who is like fantastic in that. But he also said she said that she was her own director and cinematographer. He just let her do whatever she wanted, which worked really well for the part. And it was funny because she would always have a mirror by the camera whenever she filmed anything, so she could see herself.
I thought that was the rumor. I didn't know that was true.
Yeah, and so she wasn't gonna, bow to anyone, not even, I don't think even Hitchcock, but it works really well because she's very separate and very different from the other characters, so it really works quite well. I didn't even talk about Dietrich so much. I don't know why she's in my head.
That's okay. I'm learning. Well, I mean, Dietrichson, that must have been like inspired by her name. That wasn't the name in the book.
I would think so. Frankly, that makes sense to me because she's definitely, like I said, because Dietrich really kind of did those roles before there was noir. Like
true,
in Devil's a Woman and The Blue Angel, she was really playing that type of character well before it was sort of an established norm.
Mm-hmm. Since we were going to be talking about characters, audiences seem conflicted to this day about Fred MacMurray's performance as Walter Neff. Some praise his incredible subtlety, while some believe he was miscast. What do you think about MacMurray as Neff?
It's so funny. The one thing I remember about the first time I saw this film was I'd grown up watching My Three Sons.
Oh, yeah.
It was
wow.
such a shock to see him play this kind of adulterous, murderous, sharp-talking character. It was like so shocking. I think he's fantastic in it. I don't know why people think he was miscast, other than they're carrying over from what he did, from the other films. And he was afraid to do the role. Like, Wilder had to really persuade him because he felt like his acting wouldn't be good enough because it was just so different from what he had done before, because he'd always done things that were very light. Even though one of his best early films was actually with Barbara Stanwyck, because they made a film together before this, which was Remember the Night, which was written by Preston Sturges, and I think Mitchell Leeson directed it. And it's a beautiful film, but he has a much more complex character in that than he was kind of playing at the time. And he and Stanwyck are fantastic in that. And then they did two more films after that. Moonlighter, which I haven't seen, it's a Western, and There's Always Tomorrow, which is a Douglas Sirk film, which is my favorite Sirk film. And they play kind of their own age with the sort of older characters. And Joan Bennett's also in it, but it is not a film noir at all. But it's funny to see the three of them, all these noir starlets kind of together in it.
Yeah. I loved Remember the Night. That was a great film. It's been a while since I've seen it, so I don't remember it so well, but I remember the ending being so complex and just them being an excellent duo.
Yeah, and they just have great chemistry together.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the main thing, is I just think that they really click, which is part of what I think makes Double Indemnity great. And so Fred MacMurray, I think, Eddie and I are talking about this film, and somebody had written in saying, he just sounded so like artificial, and we were talking about the fact, well, he's supposed to, because that's his personality. He's presenting himself in a certain way that, that's kind of his mask.
Yeah. Well, I kind of felt like, the first time I saw it, I was kind of struck by how many times he said baby, because it just didn't seem like him. But that's part of his character. He's supposed to not really fit with that, because he's putting on this persona. He's caught up in this thrill of the most exciting thing in his life, possibly, of this murder and pursuing this woman who's so interested in him. But that's the point, as you said.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, he is kind of putting, and I think it's a persona that's, because you see him that way with Keyes at the beginning too, and I think it's, I think it's just the face he kind of presents to the world as a salesman, but also, it's a way of masking vulnerability, because, in the scenes with him and Keyes, there's so much affection there, and he kind of keeps it at a distance, like when he says sarcastic at one point, I love you too, but they do love each other, and that's sort of like interesting too, because at the same time, I think a big motivation for him to do this plot is, with the Double Indemnity, is to pull one over on Keyes. Like, I think he's trying to prove to himself that he can fool Keyes as well. So, that's an interesting thing, because at the same time, he's obviously very affectionate and respects him, but at the same time, it's like he has this desire to prove to himself that he can outsmart Keyes, that he can fool Keyes.
Yes.
Which is only partly successful for, because he didn't outsmart him because Keyes figured it out, but he fooled him emotionally because Keyes couldn't see that it was Walter. Because they were too close.
Yes, too close. But when I'm trying to find it in my notes where he says this, but there's a point where Keyes is talking about how this was the perfect murder, and it couldn't have been cleaner, it couldn't have gone better, except it was almost perfect. And there's a shot of Neff at this time. He's really subtle with his performance. It's hard to read his facial expressions sometimes. He keeps his composure very well. But that must have been a compliment to him on the inside, right? That Keyes was telling him that this was a perfect murder, right?
Yeah, I think so very much. I mean, I think that really stokes his ego.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because at one point, he compares it to being a croupier, right? That wants to kind of sees all that cash and kind of wants it. But I don't think, because at the beginning, very famously, he says, I did it for a woman. I did it for money. I didn't get I'm sorry. God, I can't believe I'm screwing this up. It's like the most famous quote.
I have it right here if you need any help.
And yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I've been told I'm Kubrickian, so my notes are quite extensive. So I have to look. Let's see. Okay.
I got it. Yes, I killed him. I killed him for money and a woman. And I didn't get the money and I didn't get the woman. Pretty, isn't it? But I think, I think he's lying. Because I don't think he did it for the money or the woman. I think he did it to prove that he could.
Interesting.
My 2 cents. Like, I think, go ahead.
Well, I was reading about how there is this angle of him trying to get back at Keyes or trying to prove Keyes something about him. And I always thought that was an interesting way of looking at it, but I haven't quite gotten to that because he does love Keyes, but I also feel like he doesn't want to have the same fate as Keyes, who passed up on a romance years prior and is at a desk. He doesn't want to be at a desk. Even when offered the assistant job, he wants to be out. He wants to be a salesman. So it seems like he didn't want to be Keyes in how many years' time. It seemed like Keyes kind of was his possible future because they're both workaholics. They both have really kind of put romance aside and are the best at what they do. So from that angle of like he's trying to get to Keyes in that way, it kind of makes me think about his future path had he not gone through with this plot with Phyllis.
Yeah, and not wanting to be ordinary.
Yes, yeah.
That drive to not be ordinary, not to be like everybody else. Yeah, I can see that definitely.
Makes me wonder if he, by the end of the film, felt it was worth it in the end. If he had any regrets, since he didn't get the girl, didn't get the money, that he would rather this happen than be Keyes in 10, 15 years time, maybe sitting at a desk, being so concerned and stressed about the numbers and anyone getting past them.
Yeah, and I think too, it's that idea of, having really lived, right? Is it worth that sacrifice to have felt really alive? Even though actually, I think he got a thrill out of doing it, but at the same time, he was also it was also very anxiety provoking too at the same time. So, and he has a lot of sort of existential dread through the whole process of what happens. Even though it is exciting in parts too, that really great line. Suddenly it came over me that everything would go wrong. It sounds crazy, Keyes, but it's true. So help me. I couldn't hear my own footsteps. It was the walk of a dead man.
Oh, I love that line. It's so good.
I know, it's so great. Particularly when you have Billy Wilder and Raymond Chandler working together.
My gosh, reading about their collaboration, I know it was so serious and they both hated each other, but to me it just read as comical. Like, oh, he's wearing a hat. It makes me feel like he's always ready to leave. Like, that's your complaint of working with him?
Yeah, well, alcoholics are fun.
That's true.
When you're, I saw somewhere they were saying that because Billy Wilder went on to do The Lost Weekend, which is about a writer who's an alcoholic, and and someone had mentioned, and I don't know where this came from, so I don't know if this was something Wilder said at one point or not, but that character is sort of him getting back at Raymond Chandler.
Yeah.
Having this alcoholic writer character whose life was falling apart. I don't know if that's true or not.
I read the same thing, but he got a lot of Oscars for that. The Oscars he didn't get for Double Indemnity for The Lost Weekend. Not sure if I ever found out if Chandler responded to that, but it would have been curious to learn his opinion of the film.
Yeah, well, it might have been something he didn't really enjoy.
Oh yeah.
Just in terms of, if you're an alcoholic, do you really want to watch a film about an alcoholic, or especially one where you're seeing the absolute depths that you can be dragged to with addiction? I'm not sure many addicts would enjoy watching that while they're actively using.
No. Based on how poor their relationship was, I think it would just enrage him and it would create an even worse situation for them both. But,
yeah, I think Chandler probably would not go to a Billy Wilder film after they worked together.
No.
And we should probably point out that Raymond Chandler has a small cameo.
Yes.
In the film, actually.
His only time on screen, right? He's only ever been on screen once, and that was him sitting on the bench in the insurance office that Walter walks by.
Yeah.
And actually, speaking of how nervous Neff was after the murder, about how all this could go wrong, going through and, when he started planning the murder and how he went about it and how nervous he was, it kind of reminded me of a paranoid thriller. We're kind of in the mindset of a paranoid thriller now. And I couldn't find much if there was a correlation between paranoid thrillers and noirs, but I definitely think there's a little bit of overlap, especially through his mindset that we're led into through the voiceover.
Yeah, definitely. And definitely there's other film noirs that have, even more paranoid thrillers aspects of it, too. I mean, the Stones, which are husband and wife that made films together, some of their films, they're just so suspenseful, but it's very much driven from the anxiety of the characters. Like The Steel Vault, which is, I think, the most stressful film I've ever sat through.
Really?
Yeah, which is interesting because it's about Joseph Cotton, and his wife is played by Teresa Wright, which is a little weird after Shadow of a Doubt. But anyway, he steals money from this bank, right? And so he and his wife are going to travel, and the reason why and then it's like then she's trying to persuade him to take it back, and then he decides to get it back, but he has to get it back by a certain time, and they've already gone sort of cross country back and forth, and everything that can go wrong when you travel goes wrong during the course of this film. And I think the reason why it was so effective was we've all had problems traveling. So it's much more relatable, really, than something like this, right? I mean, we're never going to really probably be murdering someone. So we've all been stuck somewhere, traveling. And I think that's why that film is so effective. But seriously, I don't think I've ever been as stressed out and on edge watching something as I was watching that film.
You just reminded me of one of the most dreadful watches of my life, The Out of Towners with Jack Lemmon. Oh, everything going wrong.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Imagine that, but it's a film, it's a film noir. And the stakes are much higher because he has to get the money back or their lives are going to be over.
Oh no, I don't know if I can sit through that. When you were talking about the most stressful watch, for me, I immediately went to the parallax view because of the mindset of Warren Beatty's character is so stressed, which reminded me of the inner monologues, inner thoughts through this confession of Neff here. Everything's so particular. Everything has to be exactly right. Everything has to be perfect. How careful he is. No phone calls, no meeting. We have to stay at a distance from each other. So that brought me into my comparison here with Neff.
Yeah, no, and I think that is something, because this almost feels like a heist film, because that's something you get in heist films, right? Where they're going through, like Rafifi, where they're going, or the Asphalt Jungle, where they're going through all these steps and they have this plan and stuff like that. And so this one really has that aspect to it, rather than maybe something like Postman Always Rings Twice, where they still have a plan, but neither of them is as well organized as Neff is.
No.
Whereas, Neff, I think maybe because a lot of his motivation is this part, right? It really is the plot. It really is getting it past Keyes. He's much more driven by that than a lot of characters are in film noir. They're more led by their passion.
Yes, that's very true. That actually, I don't know if this is the right time to bring this up, but I have a comparison to an Almodovar film in regards to passion and aggression.
Well, let's talk about it now.
Okay, let's see. Where did I put it? All right, page 7? It's around here somewhere.
Unless I'm throwing you off too much.
No. Honestly, I make an outline and then it never goes as planned, so I'm so used to it. But I'm trying to figure out where I put my question because I have several different pages. Found it. Okay. Neff becomes so afraid of getting caught that he comes to the realization that to tie up loose ends, he has to kill Phyllis, the woman he loves, or at least lusts. There are many instances of this dangerous combination of aggression out of passion, infatuation, but my mind first went to Antonio Banderas' character in Law of Desire, and then James Stewart's character in Vertigo. With the production code in the 40s, Double Indemnity could not have been as graphic as Law of Desire, but was Walter Neff possibly one of the first characters on screen to capture this complexity?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's like what Wuthering Heights is about. I mean, the book, you know, to a great deal, there's this huge crossover between sort of cruelty and aggression, which is weird because every time they make it, with one notable exception, every time they've made Wuthering Heights, they always make it into like this romance. It's really not. And then Pedro Almodovar did an adaptation of it when he was in Mexico, which is absolutely the best adaptation of the story because he just really understood the material in a way that no one else seems to.
Oh, I bet he did.
So, I mean, yeah. So, yeah, and I think that passion and aggression, so I guess that's the thing that immediately comes to mind. And also, I think Devil is a Woman, which I've mentioned like 3 times already during the podcast because it's on my brain, was another one of those kind of stories that did that. But yeah, we tend not to get that kind of, you know, because a lot of times usually in movies, I guess, if you're killing your lover, it's almost out of an abundance of passion because, you know, they cheated on you or whatever, as opposed to having that kind of, I mean, unless it's something where the passion's already gone, like Scarlet Street, you know, the relationship between Edward G. Robinson's relationship and his wife, you know, is very, you're not quite sure why they even got married in the first place.
Speaking of that passion and love, did Walter and Phyllis love each other or just lust for each other and get caught up in the twisted thrill of it all?
You know, that's an interesting question, right? Because I think that, like I said, I think on Neff's part, he's not really like later film noirs, the guys are just like seduced into this because they're so in love with the woman or they want her so badly. Whereas I can't remember exactly what Neff says, but at one point he says that he had this plot in mind and he just always needed someone that was in the inside. Yeah. So I think this plot, obviously, he didn't just come up with this because he met Phyllis. He'd already been thinking about this, you know, and Phyllis sort of gave him the opportunity. I mean, I think there's definitely lust there. And of course, you know, the thing with Phyllis is, you know, in the way I think that she's not like any other, or she's unusual for a femme fatale, is the fact that she's really, you know, Phyllis is kind of crazy.
Yeah, a little bit.
You know, she's not someone like Bridget O'Shaughnessy, who's, you know, hey, Bridget's getting by in life. You know, this is, she's a criminal. This is her career and, you know, those kind of things. Whereas Phyllis, like the absolute look of pleasure on her face when her husband's being killed behind her in the car.
That famous shot, yep.
Yeah, you know, and that's very different. But at the end, you know, after she shoots, you know, and stuff, and she can't bring herself to shoot him a second time, you know, so yeah, is that, and her saying that she didn't even really realize that she had feelings for him. So, yeah, but no, I mean, I think essentially, like I said, I think that Walter really is driven to enact this great idea that he had and get one over on Keyes, and you know, she wants to get rid of her husband. You know, and I think there's attraction there. Obviously, I think they're sincerely attracted to each other from that great beginning when they first see each other. You know, that's such a wonderful scene, and there's so much sexual dynamism there.
Oh yeah,
and I don't think and I don't think Phyllis is like she does with Ducati. I don't think Phyllis is faking her attraction to Neff. I think that's very real.
It's funny.
Vice versa, but I think they're more motivated by other things.
Yeah, in a twisted way, it seems like they've just found each other. She wants her husband dead, and he said in his confession that, you know, after all this time, your mind wanders and it takes a turn of how you would be able to con your way with the insurance company and get away with a murder or a crime like this. So in this twisted way, they were just what each other needed.
Yeah, no, I think that's true, as opposed to something like, you know, Postman Always Drinks Twice, where the two people are kind of drifting along in life in some way, and then they come together and then things kind of go from that. Whereas here, they already are kind of, it's like their paths are crossing just at the right time to both get what they want. Phyllis is also already a murderer, right?
Yes.
I mean, she already killed the guy's wife to get him in the first place. And then in the book, she's actually murdered 3 kids before that.
I thought she murdered 8 people. I didn't know they were children. Oh, my God.
I thought they were kids. Yeah, maybe I'm misremembering. But yeah, she was already like a murderer before she even met her husband, you know. And that's why I mean she's more like Ellen from Leave Her to Heaven, which is one of my all-time favorite films, where, you know, she's a femme fatale, but she's really driven psychologically, as opposed to, I think most femme fatales are just sort of, like I said, they're just trying to make money or whatever, you know, as opposed to really being really like, you know, I don't know how to put it, you know, more sociopathic or psychotic, the way that, you know, that's a different thing. And you don't get a lot of those. And just like, I don't think Neff is a typical protagonist in a film noir, because he's not really motivated by the woman, and he, you know, he's going to probably be a criminal at some point anyway, as opposed to having to, you know, I just don't think he was seduced into anything, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Interesting. Okay. Speaking of Phyllis, you know, according to this book, she has killed 8 people and you said 3 kids. But I don't think it's said enough how she's possibly one of the greatest villains in cinema. Her name doesn't come up as often as it should in that conversation, but she really is one of the best villains I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think so too. Absolutely. I don't think there's been that. Yeah. I mean, I think Barbara Stanwyck is the greatest film actor of all time.
Wow.
Frankly. Yeah. Because she could play anything, you know. And it was the same thing where she was a little reluctant to do this, but Wilder kind of talked her into it. And I just don't think anyone else could have played the role as effectively.
No. And she was the first choice.
And she's great in it. She's so believable. Because the thing is, at the end, when she talks about realizing that she had feelings with them, like, you totally believe it. Like, I think Stanwyck's the only one, when that character said that, you actually believe the character. You don't think she's lying. You know, and to be able to do that in just the little things, you know, like just her annotation where she's talking about how her husband is mean and won't let her buy anything, you know, and just, I don't know, just everything is so perfect with her.
The way she works him using sympathy and seduction, she's really a master manipulator. It's fascinating to watch.
Yeah, you know, at the beginning, she kind of comes on too strong, so she kind of dials it back.
Yeah.
You know, that she's being too obvious to whatever, you know, and she goes into more of a, you know, she changes to try and keep Walter.
Yes.
You know, and the fact that both of them, though, are just like, you know, even though they stay to the end of the line, both of them try and find ways to get rid of the other one. I mean, they literally they literally do kill each other at the end of the film.
Yeah.
You know, so Keyes was right about that.
Trolley ride.
Yeah, the trolley ride, and it's twice as dangerous when there's 2 people, not twice as safe. You know, because ultimately, and the one thing I really do wish, though, is I wish they could have done the ending in the book.
The double suicide? Is that how the book ended? Oh, okay.
Yeah, but not only that, but like she's like draped in this red material, and her face is like she's made it all white and stuff. I mean, it's just like the most vivid description of how she recruits herself for it. And I just really would have liked to see Stanwyck and MacMurray doing that ending. But it was just one of those endings that was because they're going to like jump into the water to get eaten by sharks. And, you know, sort of like the end of the novel of The Getaway, there's like no way that you could probably do it, you know, but they're so fantastic because they're sort of like this kind of descent into hell. Because, you know, at the end of Double Indemnity, essentially Keyes lets him go, you know, but it doesn't matter, right? Because they're doomed anyway. Sort of like Scarlet Street. I love the end of Scarlet Street.
The betrayal of Keyes is one of the most heartbreaking things about this film, and how Neff finds his memo to Norton and he vouches for him undeniably. Neff is not involved. I would think that would have hurt him to hear that Keyes was so on his side, and Norton, who was actually not as dumb as maybe we thought he was in the one scene he was in earlier in the film, he was the one who was kind of on to Neff about, well, we should have him followed. We should have him tailed.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because you sort of write that character off when you see him on screen. And it was if he was absolutely right about that. And yeah, I'm sure that, because, well, I mean, obviously Keyes was going to feel betrayed, but I think that that's probably, I think that when he's listening to that memo is probably the only time Neff feels actual remorse. I mean, he regrets getting shot and stuff, but I think that moment he feels really remorseful. And, that end scene between the two of them is so beautiful. And I remember Eddie and I were talking about this on Ask Eddie one time, and Eddie was saying the real love story in this is really Keyes and Neff. Yeah. That's really the most important relationship in the film. It's really not him and Phyllis. So there's something really tragic about him, like you said, really vouching for him, believing him, misplaced. His little man let him down.
Yeah, his little man for once.
Inside of him.
And it seems that Neff has a little bit of a little man, too, with his guilt, and especially when he's around Lola, he has a soft spot for her. And when he drops her off before meeting Nino, he's concerned about the briefcase and what that meant. A sheet of paper with that signature, it was really affecting him. And some of the most hard-to-watch moments in this film is when Lola comes to him in his office after the murder of her dad, and he's just kind of denying everything she's saying, and he can't even look at her. That part is really sad because you can tell he really wants to be there for her, but he's the reason her dad is not here anymore.
Yeah, and he's even gaslighting her, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Basically telling her, "Oh no, this is aren't you sure this is just your imagination?" Which is 100% right. And I really like at the end when he actually helps the caddy, who does not deserve it. I mean, he only helps the caddy for Lola's sake. And the caddy is much more sympathetic in the book.
Oh, really?
So that to me was an interesting choice to make his character so unlikable, and for you to kind of really want Lola to stop seeing him. Yeah. And then maybe it wouldn't be such a bad thing if the caddy went down, for what happened. But, Neff still chases him away from the house, at the end, and essentially saves him.
That turn of him helping Zacchetti I found really curious because I was trying to figure out what he was trying to do there. If it was purely for Lola, or if he had a change of heart all of a sudden after killing Phyllis about staging the murder with him involved. It was something I didn't look into as much as I should have, but that always really struck me, that ending with him and Zacchetti.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I think he would not have done it just for Zacchetti because Zacchetti was so unlikable. It would have been very easy to rationalize that, but I think Lola being in love with him probably let him accept his fate, you know what I mean, instead of trying to blame it on Zacchetti. But I think if Lola was not involved and it was just Zacchetti, he probably just, I'm not sure he would have made that decision. But I think he also knew that the gig was up as well.
Yeah, he must have sensed it. I mean, he was already shot by that point, and through the voiceover confession as we check in here and there, the stain on his shirt and his jacket keeps growing. I think it's through more of a shadow because of it being in black and white. But he was still determined. He still tried to get out that door at the end, and Keyes is telling him, "You're not making it past the elevator." And he was right. He collapsed by the door.
Which is just such a great moment, but it's that kind of very human thing to keep moving, to keep running, to keep, it's such a human moment of just like that, no, I'm going to make it anyway. It's just not making it. You've been shot. You've been bleeding out for an hour and a half while you've been recording your story.
Yeah. He's really testing it. He could have just ran, but he wanted to give Keyes the truth. He could have saved himself or gotten so far that he maybe wouldn't have gotten caught. Because he wanted a few hours in advance from Keyes, I believe.
Yeah, and so that begs a lot of questions, right? Is it because he wants Keyes to know because he feels guilty about betraying Keyes? Does he want Keyes to know because he wants to show him how he did it? Is it like a prideful thing? Is it a remorseful thing? Is it both? Why is it so important that he stops and lets Keyes know? Yeah,
because he loves him. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely. And I think we may have mentioned this earlier, but that reversal with the light is just so great.
Oh, I love that.
You
Yeah.
know, when he goes with her. And he'll say, oh, I wanted to say something. You know that thing about, like, because people don't know, what we have now are what's called safety matches.
Mm-hmm.
But, and when I was in high school in England and smoked, I used to buy the other kind of matches where you can strike them against like a window or something and they light up, right? So it's just any kind of friction.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the kind of matches they're using. That's why they can just flick the match head with their thumb and it lights. And I think I was watching Double Indemnity with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad said, you know, when he was young, because my dad was a kid in Depression and then, you know, was like a teenager during the Second World War. And he talked about doing that. And he said, and it really hurts.
Oh, they make it look so much cooler in the films.
Exactly. And so, like, every time I see someone do that now, I think about my dad saying that.
Well, also with that match, the reason Keyes didn't keep one in his pocket was because it would always, light a fire? Is that what he said? That's why he wasn't ever carrying his own lighter, even when Neff was like, you know, that you can buy a match for yourself. They come with the cigars if you want.
Yeah, because like I said, those kind of matches can light up just from friction. They're not like the safety matches that we have now where you have to strike it against the flint, I guess you would call it, in the back of the pack. Those things, like I said, we used to do that like when I was in England. We would just like strike them against the window, you know, and they just scream. Yeah, things used to be more dangerous.
Yeah,
you know?
It sounds like it.
It used to be dangerous to go to the movies, you know, when they had nitrate prints.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Before safety stock, there were nitrate prints. They're highly flammable.
Oh.
In fact, there's only like in LA, the Egyptian theater has the capacity to show nitrate prints, but you have to take out an insurance rider every time you do that, and it's a lot of money.
Oh my god!
Because it's very easy just to burn down the entire theater.
Oh my god! I
yeah.
never knew that. That's fascinating.
Thing about nitrate prints is they're beautiful. I mean, things look so great in nitrate, but because there's silver in the film, it's just like if you go to a museum and you look at photographs that are printed on gelatin, they just look really different. It's very beautiful, but they went to safety stock because, you know, safety.
Right. Yes, of course. Safety is everything. Was the pursuit of the double indemnity clause one step too far? Do you think they were too greedy by going for the $100,000 instead of the $50,000?
Well, it made it a lot more complicated.
Yeah.
And the thing about insurance that sort of Keyes refers to several times is insurance policies are sort of based on statistics, right? Like how likely is something to happen. And the reason why it's all the extra money is it's unlikely to happen. So sort of inherently, if it's something unlikely, then the insurance company is going to look for it. But, you know, like I said, I think for her it was greed. I think she wanted the extra money, but I think he wanted the risk.
Yeah. Interesting.
Right?
Yes.
It's like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go all out and, you know, go right to the edge of safety.
Mm-hmm. Has to be on a train. There's no other way. Has to be
on the train, yeah. It's like, no, you could just, I mean, but it's a hat trick. You know, he wanted to go. If he was going to do it, he was going to do it all out.
Yes, he was going to go for it.
Even though it would have been safer if he hadn't. Yeah. Because I think honestly, just the regular insurance money, and not having him probably would have been fine for Phyllis, even though she is greedy. So it's sort of like, you know, I think one was more ego-driven, the other one was more greed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Old Hollywood films, and especially this film, they can be very dialogue heavy. And I was comparing it with the film that I talked about last year, Le Samurai, and how Le Samurai is more of a show don't tell film, which tends to be the rule. You always want to, you know, it's always better to show not tell. But this film is kind of the opposite. If there's any silences, it's brief. The greatest example of silence in the film is when the car engine is having some trouble as they're trying to flee the scene of placing Mr. Dietrichson on the train tracks. So, do you think the film would... It's hard to make this film better, of course, but do you think having more moments of silence to boost suspense would have been, oh gosh, I don't know, better. But to me, I'm always a show don't tell person, so part of me wonders if there was less tell, how that would have affected and added to the suspense of the film overall.
I mean, I think this is not a Hitchcock film, like we said before, because I think everyone's verbal fencing is essential to their characters. Because this is really about the characters and really about their relationships. So how Walter and Keyes communicate together and say things to each other, and the way that Phyllis and Walter say things to each other. And the one time she is in a room with the other two guys, you know, in the insurance thing. And then the way that we talked about, like, where he's trying to persuade Lola that she's imagining things, like all that stuff. This is how these characters manipulate each other, is through words rather than actions.
Yeah.
So I think that it is important because that is the key to their characters. You know, just like Keyes breaking down the guy at the beginning for torturing his own truck. That's him just, you know, breaking him down. And he's breaking him down with words, you know. So I think for the story and for those characters, it makes sense for it to be dialogue driven. But I mean, he cuts out the dialogue in the whole murder sequence. I mean, they're driving silently in that car, basically. I mean, there's a little back and forth between Phyllis and her husband that you would expect, but that sequence is really pretty quiet, you know, until the hand on the horn and, you know.
The three honks.
The three honks, yeah.
In the dark alley, why are you honking so much? And just that shot, as we mentioned, that famous shot. Murders could not be shown at this time, so it was very cleverly concealed with that shot. And I don't even think they could have shown, which is why they didn't, putting Dietrichson on the train tracks after they flee the scene, right?
I don't know. I mean, they probably could have shown him. Well, maybe, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know whether they could have a shot of him on the tracks or not. It may have been too much. Yeah, maybe, it's hard to tell because, you know, the thing was, too, was it wasn't always like, things weren't always applied the same. You know, like you would give your stuff to the brain office and they would say, you have to cut this, you have to cut that. But it was ultimately sort of subjective because there's some stuff that you watch and you go, how did this pass the censors? Yeah. There's an infamous scene in The Big Combo, which I won't get into, where it's just like, oh my God, I can't believe this got put in here. And I think it just went over the heads of the censors that were working on the film. So it can be very subjective. Like, I always thought it was weird that Scarlet Street ends the way it does because, I mean, Edward G. Robinson's character gets away with murder. I mean, an innocent man is executed. And at the end, I mean, he doesn't really get away with it. At the end, he's psychologically tortured, obviously. But that wasn't usually at the brain office. Being psychologically tortured was not enough for a criminal. You know what I mean? So it's like, why did that film get away with it? It's always, you know, it's a big question. So like I said, it was sort of subjective, like what you could and couldn't get away with because, you know, it was a much more, I mean, they had some hard and fast rules, but at the same time, the people watching the films were the ones that would say, you have to cut this because it's not okay. Yeah, and the noir genre seems to push the envelope, especially with this film, and actually thinking of Hitchcock's films as well. I mean, with the double entendres early on, that famous banter between the two of them, but even before she came down the steps about her being fully covered with insurance. Yeah. It's just fantastic. Oh, I just love dialogue written at this time. It's just different as we've talked about, but it's just beautiful. It's poetry. Yeah, and I think too, like I think I said this earlier, but you know, people were expected to understand. Like when she goes over to his apartment, there's this cutaway, and it comes back. Oh yes. Like a grown-up knows that they had sex. You don't have to spell it out or show it. If you're an adult, you know that. And you know, and the same thing with violence. I mean, you know, that murder is. I mean, you know that it's gruesome, but I think showing Phyllis's reaction to it and the excitement that she feels conveys what's happening, but also conveys a lot about her character. Yes. Like it was much more enlightening to look at her face than to show the killing, because we really, that's when you really understand that Phyllis isn't in it just for the money. There's something deeper than that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. That's one of my favorite shots in the film. I also love the shot of her hiding behind the door that can't really exist. I mean, I've never seen a door open the way it does for the scene when she is coming up to his apartment and surprise, Keyes is there and he's just leaving and she's hiding behind the door, and it's this excellent shot of her more on the left side of the frame, he's in the middle of the frame, and then Keyes is in the background on the right side of the frame. He has no idea she's there. It's just a fantastically framed shot.
Yeah, you know, it's so funny because we've had more than one person write that in to ask Eddie, you know, asking why he did that, and Eddie's like, so she'd be concealed by the door.
Yeah.
That's why. But the thing was, it's like, I never noticed that before.
Really?
Ever. Until, yeah, like I never thought about it. Look, the door's open the wrong way. That's never crossed my mind. And it's so funny because, like, you know, people are really into that. I think much more now than they used to be, of kind of those kind of pointing things like that out. And if I'm invested in something, I'm not thinking that. The only thing that always drives me nuts is like when people get stabbed and they immediately like pull the knife out. And it's like, don't do that. You'll bleed to death, you moron.
Yes.
That is the one thing that, like, every single time that makes me insane. That is my thing. That and when they give alcohol to someone who's already bleeding. Just so people know, alcohol is a blood thinner. Never drink alcohol if you're bleeding. So those two things, just those are the two things that will actually distract me when I'm watching something.
That's your PSA for today, everyone.
Film Noir First Aid.
Yes. Oh, that's good. Let's see. Oh gosh, I have so many more questions I could go with. In Dark City, Eddie wrote about how both Double Indemnity and The Postman Always Rings Twice were copied quickly before stating, "Today video store shelves are crammed with erotic thrillers that owe him some debt," talking about Kane. Did Double Indemnity give rise or introduce the erotic thriller?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think definitely, because those were the good old days when they had all these direct-to-video movies. And that was because film companies, for first-run films, you'd have to wait 6 months to a year before it'd come out, and it would be priced at like $90 for the video store to buy. So it would be kind of limited. So there's a need for more product. Wow. So there were all these direct-to-video movies, and these erotic thrillers took that place. And yeah, a lot of them have very, you know, Postman Always Rings Twice kind of storylines, right? Because you want to get sex in there, and so you have the adultery, right? So, you know, definitely, I think Postman Always Rings Twice and other film noirs, especially Postman Always Rings Twice, really sort of were big inspirations for that sort of genre of direct-to-video movies. And I think, too, if people want like a modern film noir, there is an Australian film called The Square, which was great because I literally saw the opening scene of that film and you knew exactly what was going to happen by the end, and it was just like getting there, you know what I mean? But that is like, it's a classic. It just is. It's just like that film could have been made in the 1940s. Great film, you know, and that's one of the ones that really, I feel, most neo-noirs now don't really have those kind of elements to it. You know, most neo-noir now, I think, is more like, usually it's more cop stories or heists or whatever that we call a neo-noir, and they're not really so character-driven as they used to be.
Yeah, they were definitely different in the old Hollywood era. Even with neo-noirs, it's a little different, as I mentioned with Les Samurai, well, especially it being an European film. But watching Double Indemnity, I couldn't help but remember Chinatown. The filmmakers wanted the film in black and white, but they weren't really allowed to. But it was set in Alameda, around the San Francisco area, which is around the time Double Indemnity was shot. And isn't that the...
Double Indemnity, both of those are Los Angeles stories.
Oh, right. They're traveling to San Francisco, or Palo Alto. They were talking about his trip.
Yeah, he's from...
I see.
Yeah, the trip is to Palo Alto.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. Got a little confused.
They talk about him being even though I'm a big fan of film noirs in San Francisco, of course, because, you know, the Maltese Falcon.
Oh, yes,
very much. Yeah, actually, where I live, Dashiell Hammett, where he wrote The Maltese Falcon. That's like 2 blocks from where I live.
Oh my
The apartment
gosh.
he wrote that in. And my tax, when I had my first tax guy I had here, that was my accountant for my taxes, worked in the Flood building, which was the building that Hammett worked in when he worked for Pinkerton's, and is also where Spade and Archer's office is.
Oh.
That's a real building. Yeah, and it's really funny because when you walk away from a certain angle and look back at the Flood building, someone's painted Spade and Archer on one of the windows. I don't know if that's still there, but it was there for years.
Wow.
So anyway.
Oh, Richmond film history around you. That must be so nice.
Yeah, it is. Plus, it's fun because there's a really oh God, I'm sorry. I think it's called SF Reels, SFREELS, and it's all these locations in San Francisco that were used in films. So if people are coming to the San Francisco and want to maybe explore some noir or other film locations, like, it's so funny, especially too, having, like, when I rewatch something that used to be, before I moved to San Francisco, like when I saw The Conversation again, it's really funny because now every time I go by Union Square, I always think of The Conversation.
Oh my, the exact place for the opening scene. Oh my gosh, whoa.
I walk past there every day when I walk to and from work, because I work in the financial district and I live in the Tenderloin. So I walk by Union Square every day, and it's really funny now. I just think about when I look at it, it's like, oh, it's A Conversation.
You're trying to find the van and trying to see if there's anyone recording.
Over there. Yeah, not only that, but where I work in the financial district, sometimes I have to go over to the Embarcadero Center, which is where the husband's office is, in the Embarcadero Center. So it's kind of funny. Yeah, you just do that. You kind of do things. And, like, if I go a different route, then I walk by the bookstore that's in Vertigo.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's another level for me. I love Vertigo. That's so cool. Oh, working in film, being around these historical film sites, what a dream. That's amazing.
Yeah. It is for a film geek.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Well, and I got to tell you, too, I mean, it's been so much fun to be doing Ask Eddie because, one, like, I really do miss working in a video store and just, like, talking movies all day. That was, like, so great. And then I also had, like, a show on cable access that I did as well. And it had, so when Eddie was like, oh, I think that you should, that, I want you to, like, produce it and be the person doing the questions with me and stuff, And I was, like, really excited because I just hadn't been able to do this particular type of thing in so long that I really love. Like, I love talking about movies.
Yes, it's the best.
It is. It's my favorite thing. It really is. I mean, and that was just the great thing about working in a video store, because you get recommendations from the people you work with and from customers, and you get exposed to all these different things. And, I think that film literacy has really been dying at an alarming rate, because of the lack of repertory theaters and because of the lack of video stores. Like, it's really a shame. People aren't really getting a film education. And you see it, like, when you look at, when they'll do these new critic lists of the greatest films of all time, and it's just like, really, this is what you're coming up with? Because, and if you go back and look at the ones from, like, the 1960s and the 1970s, people were just had I think much more sophisticated taste in films, and had just seen a lot more, because you just would learn from other people. So, I'm kind of hoping that people are enjoying the aspect of Ask Eddie, of hearing us talk about movies and things that people have written in. And, I always love it when I see someone comment, oh, I wrote down a whole list of books and movies I need now.
Yes. Inspiring people to continue their film education. I love it.
Yeah. And we talk about books, too, which I think is really, really great. Because we get a lot of questions about crime fiction in particular, and I always really enjoy that. We've just kind of made it a habit at the end of the show to talk about what we've been watching and what we've been reading. Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining me today, Anne. I have been so excited to talk with you, a fellow noir fan and champion of the genre, about this classic masterpiece that has left a huge impact on cinema to this day. This has been one of the best conversations I've had on this podcast this year. It was so delightful, and I would love to have you on again sometime.
I would love that too.
Yeah.
Maybe we could talk about Sunset Boulevard.
Oh, yes. Sunset Boulevard, or I would love to have you on to discuss an Almodovar film.
Oh God, yes. I would love that. That would be great.
His films,
either would be great with me.
His films are so underappreciated. He is just unbelievable. He's one of the best in my eyes.
Oh yeah, me too. I mean, I consider him one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. I mean, he's just a genius. Yeah, it's scary to me that people see now if they had video stores.
Yeah.
And rep theater, people would know who he was. Like, how can you not know who Almodovar was? He's like, that's crazy to me that people don't know who he is.
Yeah, even with Criterion and what's available, people are still not familiar with him. It blows my mind. He should be more of a household name. His films are unlike anything, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I think too, Spanish cinema in general maybe isn't as well known too.
That's true.
And should be better known. So I think sometimes that's part of it too. People just kind of tend to I don't know, I mean, certain countries, it's been fun to see. I've gotten really into Korean TV shows and films, but that's really been a recent thing that people have gotten into that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a country that's just kind of, I think that's a great thing about Netflix. I mean, people complain about the content, but the thing I like about Netflix is I've gotten to watch these TV shows from different countries, and I find that really fascinating. I think that's the strong part of their service, even though people complain, there's not enough movies. It's but there's all TV from around the world, and you get to see the food and the culture and, what people, what I'm saying? I just think the TV format gives you a chance to get more into the culture than watching a movie.
Interesting.
I'm sorry, I don't know where that came from. What were you talking about?
We were talking about Almodovar, and I absolutely agree. I love watching films from all around the world because I'm a fly on a wall to a culture that I wouldn't have gotten access to had it not been for a film or a show. I'm not as much of a TV watcher because I'm definitely more of a film person, but there was a show that you were talking about on Ask Eddie having to do with food. Was it Midnight Diner or something?
Oh, Midnight Diner. You gotta watch Midnight Diner.
It sounds so good the way you described it.
God, that is so great. And really, every episode is a mini film.
Oh, okay.
Because each episode sort of looks at a different character, but you have the ongoing people that always eat there. So there is that, and of course, Master is very much, but you never learn about him. It's so frustrating. You never find out how he got that scar on his face. So they are little short stories, really, because they sort of tell a whole story about someone and the reason why that person is asking for that particular dish. So it's a little short story every episode. So I think if you're more of a film watcher, I think you still like that because you can just watch one episode and then you could come back to it much later and it would be fine. You don't necessarily have to watch them even though there's characters that recur, and it is fun because every once in a while one of the regular characters is the main focus, and then that's kind of interesting because you sort of learn different things about the people, over the series.
Yeah, I'm putting that on my watch list. Yeah. And as I mentioned in the introduction, you are the Director of Communications for the nonprofit organization, the Film Noir Foundation, which is celebrating 20 years this year. Congratulations on the continued and growing success of this organization. The foundation is dedicated to restoring noir films. So how do you all decide what films to restore?
That's a good question. So it's things that do not belong to someone, right? So these aren't films that belong to Paramount or something like that. So that's the first requirement, is they have to sort of be, the copyright isn't owned because
public
otherwise,
domain?
So yes, public domain. So we own the copyright of the restoration, right?
Oh, okay.
So you can't put up our copy of it because we own that copy. We own the restoration copy. Also, we have to have elements available. So it has to be a film where we can access the elements to restore. So, ideally, a full negative would be ideal.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but a lot of times that isn't the case,
Oh, wow.
So when we restore something, you have to be able to find the elements. And sometimes, like, Too Late for Tears took years to restore because it was getting all the elements for it, because it had been missing scenes for so long. Or, so anyway, so I'm kind of getting a little flustered. But, so that's the other element. And we're picking, and obviously they have to be a film noir. And the ones we're picking aren't like big, like these were not big A films, right? These are the kind of films that really would fall through the cracks because they're not necessarily something like The Red Shoes, where people can see the value in restoring the red shoes.
Right, yeah.
Because that was a film that used to appear in the top 10 greatest films of all time and no longer does.
Scorsese really champions it to this day, so I'm sure it's getting a lot more attention because of him talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's absolutely true. And, the great thing about the films we restore is a lot of them, I mean, mostly they're films people really haven't heard of, right?
Yeah.
Like something like The Man Who Cheated Himself, I had never heard of before we restored it, right? Frankly, because, it's one of those things where it show up, like if you got like 20 suspense films or 20 film noirs, those little sets that you get, and they're all public domain films, you would see it on something like that and it looks terrible. So we're really looking at films that like really aren't well known, that aren't owned by a studio. And then we also wound up doing some Argentine films because we have a nice relationship through Martin Pena with the Argentine Cinematheque archive. Yeah. So we've done several Argentine films. So that's been kind of, I guess you could say that's one of our specialties.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I would love to watch an Argentinian noir. Don't think I have.
Yeah. Well, if people want to watch our restorations, the Film Noir Foundation restorations, if you have a library card, you have access to the streaming service Canopy with a K.
Oh, yeah.
And they have our films, or they're available for digital rental on Flickr Alley, who are our partners in releasing these films. Or you can go to Flickr Alley and you can buy a Blu-ray DVD combo set of our different restorations.
I didn't know.
Support our work there.
Oh, that's fantastic. I just got Canopy with my library, so I'm going to be searching for some noirs now through the Film Noir Foundation.
Oh, yeah, and they always do a big thing for Noirvember. They have they make a big deal out of that. So
As they should.
When this is, yeah, exactly. It's nice though, isn't it?
Yes.
It looks cool.
It's a great way to celebrate noir. I love Noirvember. I'm trying to make it a thing.
Yeah, it is, and it's funny how that has grown over the years.
Yes. Yeah, I'm trying to get more people into it because it's a fun way to celebrate this genre. I love it.
Yeah, it's nice to have it. And also people should go to the North City Festival.
Yes. Oh, yes, we're going to be talking about the Noir City Film Festival. The 23rd Annual Noir City Film Festival will take place at the Grand Lake Theater in Oakland, California from January 16th to the 25th. And there, the Film Noir Foundation will be screening 24 films. That's amazing. What can festival goers expect at this year's festival?
We have not announced the schedule yet.
Ah, okay.
So, by the time because this is airing in November, we will have our passes on sale, right? So you can buy your pass for the whole festival, which gives you early entry into the screenings, and especially if getting in for the opening weekend can be really hard. So, this as long as you're there 30 minutes before showtime, guarantees your entry to the cinema. So on the night of North City Christmas, which is December 17th at the Grand Lake Theater, that is the night that we put individual tickets on sale and reveal our schedule. And that happens like at 7 o'clock at night. So once our program at the theater starts, then the website goes up live, northcity.com, and that's when you can buy tickets for the individual screenings. And for people that want to go opening weekend, do not message me on Facebook the day of the show asking if there's tickets.
I can't imagine how many messages you've gotten.
This wasn't like when I first started going to the festival, and you could buy tickets at the box office maybe for opening night. So anyway, yes, if you are interested in the opening weekend, you do want to, like on December 17th, buy your tickets then, or better get a pass. So people know too with the pass, it's like even if you don't go to all the screenings, you're really supporting our restoration efforts, because the North City, our main festival, the one we have in January in Oakland, that is a fundraiser for us. When you buy your tickets for that, when you buy your passes for that, the proceeds go to our film restorations. So it's a way of supporting the festival, even if you don't want to attend every screening.
Yeah, and you can also, I think if you donate $20 on the filmnoirfoundation.org website, then that goes towards the newsletter, and you're helping, again, with funding the restoration projects by the foundation, right?
Right, exactly. And so, you donate $20 or more at filmnoirfoundation.org, and you sign up on our emailing list. And then when the magazine comes out, we have this thing called the North City Magazine. We send you a link to download it, and that's got like some of the best writing on film noir, probably the best writing on film noir, frankly. And that is actually our managing editor on that is Imogen Sarah Smith, who people might know from the Criterion Channel because she does a lot of introductions to films on the Criterion Channel.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Oh,
yeah,
that's so...
yeah. So you may have seen her over there, and of course she's also a writer. She's published several books. So we're very happy to have her as editor of the magazine.
Yeah. So you have TCM and Criterion colliding for this. That's amazing.
Yeah. And like I said, she is the managing editor of the magazine. So we're very happy to have her. We were very happy when she accepted, because like Eddie was trying to do it on top of everything else.
Yeah.
It's like we're never going to get the magazine out if we keep going on this way. So,
oh my gosh, yeah,
we're extremely grateful to her to take over that role.
Yeah, I definitely want to learn more about the newsletter, and I'm sure I would learn so much from everyone's writing.
Oh, and we've got a bunch of great writers that write for us, and we even have like digital back issues for sale. And there's a print edition of the magazine as well. You go on to Amazon. And those are nice. I mean, they look really beautiful, but we only like get $1 for every one of those that are sold, and the other $14 goes to Amazon. So we really need people to donate directly to us.
Yeah, go directly to the filmnoirfoundation.org. That's shocking. You only get $1 from that. There's also a Noir City Film Festival in Philadelphia from November 14th to the 16th, and Noir City Christmas, which will take place on December 17th. At the same Grand Lake Theater that the Noir City Film Festival will take place in January. And we've been talking about Ask Eddie throughout, but I, again, thoroughly enjoy your conversations. These are bi-weekly, and on a recent Ask Eddie, we've talked about Vertigo several times, but Vertigo was mentioned in a lineup of noir films set in San Francisco. I actually rewatched the film on Sunday night thanks to TCM dedicating Sunday nights during the month of October to the work of the master of suspense. Between what you and Eddie said and in my rewatch, I noticed some noir tropes in Vertigo and some definite similarities between the film and Double Indemnity. So I'm curious, since I hadn't connected these dots before, is Vertigo a noir film?
I mean, right. I mean, I would say yes.
Oh.
He's only done a couple films that I would really consider noir. And I think that is a film noir. That and like Strangers on a Train, I really think is a noir, which is based on a book by Patricia Highsmith.
Yeah.
And then, oh my gosh, the one with Joseph Cotton and Shadow of a Doubt.
Oh yeah.
Shadow of a Doubt, which is my favorite Hitchcock film, and which is Hitchcock's favorite film of his own. And that one, I think that one's definitely a noir.
Yeah. Oh, that's good to know. I never thought of Vertigo that way, but how can people submit their questions for you and Eddie?
Thank you for asking. So we have a newsletter which is free. So if you go to filmnoirfoundation.org and you sign up on our emailing list, then you get the newsletter automatically. And the newsletter is where we send out like an announcement. So the week that we're having an Ask Eddie, we send out an announcement saying, hey, it's playing on Thursday on Facebook. So we've already shot that one, right? Because we shoot them and then I edit them and then they go on.
Yes, they're not live.
Right, they are not live. But so when it is on Facebook, I am live in the comments.
Ah, okay.
So as we screen them on Facebook Live, because they're live events, I'm in the comments every time talking to people, which is how we wound up having a Colombo group, which is another story.
Wow.
Yeah. And so when we send out announcements about when we're screening Ask Eddie, then there is an email in the newsletter where you can submit your questions to. And we are about a year behind in our questions, so you do have to be patient.
Whoa.
I know. It's just we get a lot of questions, and we've recently introduced like a lightning round so that we're doing an extra 5 questions every time. For the questions, they're just like, why does the door open the wrong way in double indemnity? Answered multiple times. Do not write in about the car seat thing. Why do people slide over the car seat? Because
yes.
Got my question by then.
Yeah, you talked about that on a recent episode.
Question. Yeah. This is my beef. Anyway, but I do try to, when questions come in, if it's time sensitive, like if someone's just died, and someone writes in a question about them, then we want to do those in the next episode and stuff like that. So I am trying to be better about like reviewing every single question when it comes in, and then so if it's time sensitive, we will get that in sooner. But otherwise, we're about. I know this is not a great advertisement for the show.
No, this is like all you've said about Ask Eddie is very well said, and I will vouch for the show. Like everyone should watch it. They're about 90 minutes each. You can find them on Facebook and at Noir City on YouTube to watch these bi-weekly Ask Eddie conversations. They're worth watching. They're a joy, and I'm going to be a regular viewer now of these.
And with the YouTube, just let people know. I mean, it goes up at midnight. So on Facebook, we do it on Facebook, we do 7 p.m. on Facebook Live. I'm in the comments. And then at midnight that same night, so midnight, basically Friday morning, then we put it up on our YouTube channel at North City. And there's lots of people comment there too, by the way. So they have a little community kind of going on in the comments on that as well. But yeah.
Questions just keep coming at you in all directions. No wonder it's 2 years of a wait list.
Yeah. Just so people know, we do not answer questions that are left in comments. That does not happen. You have to subscribe to the newsletter. We only do questions that are submitted via the newsletter. So just so people know. It's just we get a lot of them. So you know what? Because that's a problem, right? Is you announce, hey, we're doing the show. A bunch of people send in questions, and it's just a numbers game where there's, like I said, we're really trying to because usually we're about an hour and a half, and we don't really want to go beyond an hour and a half.
Right, yeah.
And we've been good. We've really been hitting that sweet spot of 90 minutes on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's a good amount of time. That's what I always do with my podcast as well. I always hit 90 minutes. An hour's too short, but 90 minutes is like the sweet spot.
Yeah, because I think we want to have time to really give thoughtful answers to people's questions, unless they're just really small things. Like the more trivial ones get done in the lightning round, because there's not a lot of meat to the questions. But when people take the time to really think of a question to send it in, we want to answer it, and answer it thoroughly. So
yes, absolutely.
We get about 10 questions answered in one episode, and then at the end of every episode, each of us talks about what we've been reading and what we've been watching.
Yeah, it's a great show. And again, everyone make sure you go to the filmnoirfoundation.org to learn more about all the organization does, from upcoming events to grants offered to making a donation that will go towards restoring films. I'll put the links to the website and social media pages in the episode description. Is there a film recommendation, a line from a film, really anything you would like to conclude our episode with today?
Well, since it's Noirvember, everyone should watch Black Angel with Dan Duryea.
Okay. I'm going to find that one.
Peter Lorre's in it too. So that's my lesser known noir that I really loved. I'd like everyone to see. Dan Duryea is so fantastic in it. When I wrote an article on Dan Duryea from North City Magazine, I called it his beautiful loser roles. It's one of his beautiful loser roles.
That's a great way of categorizing it. I like that very niche category.
It's a category I only use for Dan Jury.
I'll recommend Broken Embraces because, again, we're both such Almodovar fans. I watched it for the first time earlier this year, ahead of my interview with James Muller, and naturally, since it's an Almodovar film, I was left amazed by it, but the noir tropes being cleverly indistinguishable under Almodovar's signature vibrant world especially blew me away. So yeah, go watch our film recommendations. They're very worth watching to celebrate Noirvember. Thank you again so much for joining me today, Anne.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed talking to someone besides Eddie. Just kidding.
That's... Oh, hi, Eddie, if you're listening. I'm jealous now. Oh, my God.
Eddie always gets to talk to other people. Eddie talks to other people all the time.
And you... Oh, that's so sad. You don't.
Me. No.
Well, you're always welcome on my podcast. I've thoroughly enjoyed talking with you.
Right.
And thank you all for listening. And Anne, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful episode.
There you go. Oh, I love it. I love that movie.
So good. Happy Noirvember, everyone.
Happy Noirvember, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Special thanks to Anne Hockens, Dr. Gillian Smith, and Max Alvarez. This episode was recorded on October 23rd, 2025.